Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We all lack self-awareness sometime and for limited period of time, and we vary in intensity because sometimes we don't see at all the situation, we don't see ourselves in a situation, we can't analyze it, or simply we do it consciously. Like, I don't want to look at myself in that position, therefore I will not try to analyze it from a different angle. So I think United States plays this lack of self-awareness game, has been playing it for some time, knowingly. So that is, if you break the law without knowing, you still broke the law. Well, you didn't know. It was it's your duty actually to know the law if you engage in something. Obviously, you can't know all the laws, so you're gonna break some, but you didn't know it. Now you know it. We'll see how fast you learn it, okay? So not to break it again. That's changing your behavior. That means you really feel sorry about breaking the law in the first place. But when you break the law, unknowingly or knowingly, and you repeat that over and over and over again, it's no more an accident. Must be a pattern and an action that you consciously make, a decision that you make. In this situation, we have the war in Ukraine between United States and Russia on the territory of Ukraine, using Ukrainian nation as being the disposable fighters. And the guys testing their weapons, and some businesses making a lot of money, which is the military-industrial complex, banking system, and the energy system. This is basically what's going on here. We have politicians who will stay in power over there, and they, for moral reasons, point their fingers to other perpetrators, when actually they should just bring a mirror and sometimes look at themselves. So, self-reflection is a good thing if you want to change something. So in this case, we have the new voice of Ukraine coming from November 2nd, 2022. This is the title. Russia launches nearly 100 missiles on Ukraine's water, energy supplies in past 36 hours, says a US official. Okay, let's see what's going on. So that's awful. That's awful. Nearly 100 missiles on Ukraine water, energy and supplies in the past 36 hours. Obviously, we, the reader, are supposed to feel very sorry, and we feel, for the Ukrainian population, and hate the Russians for doing that. That would be a, let's say, around 86 IQ mentality. All right, but we have, I think, higher than 86. Therefore, we're going to employ a little bit more neurons in analyzing this little statement. But let's go read the article, so see what actually the Americans are saying. And I'm quoting, "With temperatures dropping, these attacks are particularly heinous." This is, they try to build pathos and compassion, which we have for the people involved in the war and being the victims, and hatred towards the guys who are just blowing infrastructure because they're bad, evil criminals, and those are the Russians. This is tweeted by Price. That's his name, Price. And he added that the United States, that's the force of the good in this, remains committed to the victory of a sovereign and independent Ukraine. Okay, that's very, very nice. Is it true? All right, so remains committed to the victory of a sovereign and independent Ukraine. Now, here is a little bit of a self-reflection that this Price does not employ. Does the United States have any guilt, should have any guilt in all this war? Yeah, probably he's going to say, yeah, we didn't kick Russia in the teeth earlier. Well, that's a weasel answer, and I'm expecting this guy to answer like that. But does it have? Does the United States have any guilt? I think it does. When and why? Well, I think from 2014, that's where the guilt not started. That was when it actually was activated. 2014, overthrow of a democratically elected government in Ukraine with the help of the United States, with the traitors in Ukraine, because that's how you're called. If you overthrow an elected government, and legitimate, with the help of outside forces, you are a traitor by definition. Now again, self-reflection, look if that would happen in the United States. China would help some people here to overthrow a certain kind of thing that is democratically elected. How would, or what would those people be called here? Traitors. How is treason punished? Candies, before or after? So then he says, the victory of a sovereign and independent Ukraine. All right. Well, I would like to ask Price, what? Price is his name. Is Syria a sovereign country? The answer it is. Is it recognized by the United Nations? It is. Is there a legitimate government? There is one. Well then, why are US troops on the territory of Syria without the invitation of the legitimate government of Syria? Because there's occupation over there. That's illegitimate, all right? That's illegal. So Price knows that very well, but he just tells us for the 86 IQ that he targets his audience. Now, Russia launched another massive missile attack on Ukraine early on October 31st. Missile attacks were reported in the cities of Kharkiv and Zaporozhye, as well as in other ones, Kiev, Kirovohrad Oblast. So the Russian invaders' strikes were aimed at hitting energy infrastructure. True. Russia also hit energy infrastructure facilities in Kiev Oblast, resulting in some settlements being left without water supplies. Local authorities also warned residents to prepare for long blackouts. That is very awful. Now, where does the self-reflection come into play for the United States in this situation? Well, I will go to NATO. We know that NATO is supposedly a defensive alliance. And why do I say supposedly? Is because NATO attacked countries not in a defensive, as a defensive mechanism, as an offensive. And I'm going to give you Yugoslavia 1999, I can give you Syria, I can give you, if you don't agree with Syria, I can give you Libya. That was purposely NATO. And what were they doing over there? Did Libya attack any NATO countries? No. Did Libya attack or Yugoslavia attack any NATO countries? No. Then what's going on here? So it's not a defensive alliance, okay? It's the self-appointed police organization of the planet. And it decided to expand. How? By getting more members and getting closer to other people, other countries that became stronger and will become stronger. In this case, Russia. That, you remember, there were some agreements, there were some talks that NATO would not move eastwards. But they fooled the Russians. Gorbachev was, that's why he didn't really like to stay in Russia, because I guess he knew what he knew. The Russian people will look for him. So, to pet him, cold. So, that was the thing with NATO expansion, right? NATO expansion, even talking in 2008 in Bucharest summit, NATO summit, talking about Ukraine and Georgia being one day part of NATO. Well, I don't need to tell you that angered, and for security purposes Russia said, no, that can't happen. You already came too close to us, you didn't care about it. So that could be one reason why we ended up here in Ukraine. So as a self-reflection, I would look at my behavior, my actions, that maybe resulted in this. So I should take a little bit of, I be responsible and say, well, maybe I'm responsible for something here too, when I say that those Russians, evil Russians, are destroying the poor Ukrainian nation. Now, in 2008 and then in 2014, the overthrow, who was responsible for that? Who supported that? The same guys. Would that bring us closer to what's going on here? I think so. Then what happened next? They recognized the newly formed government, those traitors who overthrew a legitimate government with the help of outside services. Then what happened? they started, the guys in the east of Ukraine said, you know what, we don't recognize this government. It's not our government. These are just traitors who took over. What did those guys in Kiev do? They sent the army. These guys, oh, well, we're going to be break away. We don't want to deal with you anymore. They sent the army, Kiev, to kill those guys, to get them into submission. Is that a resultant of 2014, 2008, and so on? Yeah, I think so. And then they signed a Minsk agreements between the Kiev, those guys over there, with some NATO members, guarantors of the Minsk agreements between those guys and those guys. 2014, Minsk 1, 2015, I think is Minsk 2 agreements. United States did not sign anything. That's why nothing happened since 2014 until 2022. Russians tried to discuss their concerns, their security concerns with NATO being at their borders. The United States said, we're not going to do anything about it. Screw you. Russia said, well, we have to do this if you don't even want to talk to us. In December 2021, Russia issued some documents to the Americans, official, and said, well, let's discuss about these points, our security. We want, legal, safety guarantees that you're not going to do anything. The Americans said, didn't even talk, didn't even answer the Russians. But the Russians ended up here, evil as they are. Wouldn't you think that these guys should take some responsibility for what's going on right now in Ukraine? And it's more than that. This is just the points, the main points, including the arming Ukraine, including the guys in charge of Ukraine. There's so many things, training those guys, selling your weapons. I mean, you can't say you are not responsible for anything over there. And I'm not saying anything like, oh yeah, I'm a little bit over there. I think a big chunk. And now it's a war between Russia and United States in Ukraine. The Ukrainian population will be decimated. And they are where they are. So this price, when he sheds crocodile tears here, and this, I know that everything I said he knows, but he ignores it. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.